Hey everybody! Today's prompt is little, so the main thing that popped into my head was little things. Whether it's appreciating the little things or just having little things that I like. So I decided to go ahead and just grab a bunch of my favorite tiny things from my life and show them to you. This is lavender oil. I use essential oils for a few different things, mostly for pain relief and relaxation, and lavender has always been my favorite. It helps calm me down as well as lift my mood a little bit. I love the smell of lavender and the taste of lavender, so having the smell and the calming properties for muscles as well is a huge help to me. This is a little Raven pocket watch. The battery died ages ago and I've not gotten it replaced yet, but it's really cute, really simple, really cheap. But I got it when I was in Italy visiting my best friend Aslan. I have always loved ravens and crows. They're some of the smartest birds in existence, and it's kind of terrifying sometimes, but I also really love Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and I love hearing and reading about ravens and crows in stories. I love the dark, kind of ominous figure that they tend to signify, and I think it's a lot of fun. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos this month, I started wearing makeup, and I've been wearing lipstick for a long time, but I didn't start wearing eyeshadow and mascara until only a few weeks ago. And this is my favorite eyeshadow palette to use. It's really tiny. It's called Hooked on Vinyl by Wet n Wild, and it is cruelty-free. It's actually one of the reasons I got it, but I really like gold eyeshadow, so I use this one a lot. Speaking of makeup, my favorite mini lipstick that I have is also one of my favorite colors in general. It's from Smashbox, and it's called Babe Alert. I don't believe that this is cruelty-free, so I'm really hoping I can find a new brand that is cruelty-free that has this color available. This is probably my favorite mug of all time. It says Bah Humbug on it, and I'm obsessed with Christmas. So I listen to Christmas music year-round. I talk about Christmas a lot. I start planning the holidays for the next year as soon as the holidays finish for the current year, and it's kind of bad. I don't usually go all out, and definitely don't have the money to host a lot of parties or anything like that, but hopefully one day I'll be able to host a little bit more. This last year we just didn't have the space for it. But this mug I found at a thrift store, flea market, in Springfield, Missouri, called Relics Antique Mall. And I was there with my sister, and we were just wandering around. We got lost and stayed there for a couple of hours whilst my grandparents had just taken us there for lunch. Eventually they called us, we found them, and we went and ate, but we spent so much time just looking at stuff. We decided to go back the next day after they had left town, and I stumbled upon this mug and battled myself as to whether I wanted to spend money on it. It was really cheap. I don't remember what it was. It was probably like $2.50 or something like that. But I was saving up for a trip, and I didn't want to have to worry about not having that money anymore, even though it was so little. But my sister talked me into buying it. Thank you, Kelly. This has been one of my favorite mugs ever, and still is, probably always will be. I'm going to cry if it ever breaks. But it also makes me think of my favorite Christmas story, which is also my favorite tiny little book that I have. I got one of the special edition ones from Barnes & Noble one year that was published by Fall River Press. So it's just a gorgeous color and cover. I love the embossing. But yeah, Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is one of my favorite little books. I have always loved it. I love how much Scrooge changes throughout the book, and it also is a great reminder of my favorite Christmas movie, which is A Muppet Christmas Carol. Nearly a year ago, Turner and I got married, and we had a joined stag hen do. I was working all week, and my friends that were coming to the wedding are also his friends, or didn't arrive until it was too soon to the wedding to plan anything, because they were coming from out of country. So instead, a few days before the wedding, we went and just hung out at a bar, played some games, and and then I split off with my best friend Aslan for a little while. We got gelato. But his best friend, Savannah, actually brought a Polaroid and we took some photos, and she very kindly let me keep a couple of the photos. And these are two of my favorite photos from that night in general and the last few years. So Aslan, Turner, and me, and then Aslan and me, and I just love it. One of the funny, quirky, and very tiny things we were given for our wedding was this. His name is Rocky, and he was made by our friends Pat and Penny, and they gave him to us to take on all of our little adventures. We're honestly a bit scared that we might lose him, so we haven't really taken him out on adventures very much, but we have taken him with us when we moved, and he now sits on my bookshelf. Another rock of mine that is one of my favorites is this one. It's technically a chunk of rock and concrete from Pointe du Hoc in France. So it was on the path on the way to the parking lot for the area, but Pointe du Hoc is one of the areas that was stormed on D-Day. It isn't a beach, and for some reason I had never really heard of it until I was traveling abroad. On my study abroad trip, we actually watched some videos about it, we visited, and it was one of the most surreal experiences for me. There were German battlements built on top of a cliff and hillside, and it is a gorgeous area, but because of the German battlements, they had to attack to help make sure that the D-Day beaches that were being stormed weren't bombed. It's one of the few places that was left as it was after D-Day and the war, and they just let nature grow back and take over it again. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a monument, there are still the battlements everywhere, but there are also these giant bomb craters, and it's mind-blowing how deep they are and how terrifying that must have been. Combining that with the wild flowers and the grasses and just letting nature take it back over is beautiful. To this day, it's one of my favorite places I've ever been. I legitimately cried being there. I didn't know how to react. This is my little piece of memorabilia that I grabbed from the pathway on the way back to the parking lot. One of the other trips I've gone on in the last few years was a week-long aquarium road trip with Turner. We have made a habit of getting plushes at every aquarium that we visit because they're really fun and cute, and it's a really fun way to have reminders of the fun times that we've had at those places. This is Algie. He actually came with Olga, our larger one. He is the little baby that actually fits onto Olga's fin. Olga's a lot larger. Algie is potentially my favorite plush that we've gotten. We've gotten a lot and I love all of them, but I'm not sure which one actually wins for favorite. But just look at the baby whale shark and how cute that is. We got this at the Georgia Aquarium. Speaking of aquariums, after that road trip, I was struggling to think of something to do for Turner for his birthday and Christmas later that year. So I did a series of 9 different little 2.5 by 2.5 paintings of some of our favorite creatures that we saw while we were there. And one of my favorites and one of his favorites was the walnut jellyfish. So this is my favorite painting, and it's also one of our favorite little jellyfish. So it's called a sea walnut, and as it's swimming around you can see light moving on it and the electrical impulses passing through in various shades of color, and it was mesmerizing. The biggest that they tend to get is about 4 inches long. Something that I have discovered I actually really love after about a year of just having lots of difficulty with it, but it comes in really handy when traveling and going to work and things like that, is my Kindle. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon as a company, but Kindle and other e-readers are such a huge help. They're really way better for the environment. There's a lot less paper waste when you're reading from a Kindle versus paper books. I still prefer the feel of paper books in my hand and the smell of them, but this is an easy way to build a large collection without taking up too much space. And you can also rent books from a library using your Kindle a lot of the time, so I've been starting to do that. It's way lighter and way easier to carry around and just has made my life a lot easier. This little notebook is how Turner and I meal plan. So what we do is we write down L1 through L7, D1 through D7, and then a bake. And so we just come up with our lunches and dinners, and then we use a piece of scrap paper to write down the ingredients for each meal. Then we follow this through the week, and then the next week starts and we use this again. This little notebook is from Hawaii. It was given to me by my wonderful bosses. It was given to me by my wonderful bosses at Hazel's Flowers, and it has come in very handy. Another thing which I don't usually think about, I'm really thankful for it, and I fiddle with it throughout the day. I look at it a lot and I love it very, very much, is my engagement ring and my wedding band. Both were bought really cheap off of Etsy, both handmade by the creators that we bought them from. I think total for my set and his set was probably around $70 for both the engagement rings and the wedding bands, all four combined. I also got him an engagement ring. I actually proposed to him, and then in response, almost a month later, he proposed it to me. I love it so much because it signifies my relationship and my love for Turner. And then last but definitely not least is this little homeopathic pill. I haven't had insurance for several years, so when my anxiety started up really badly, I turned to homeopathic remedies. I've gone through a few different brands and a few different styles, and my favorite so far are the little tablets that you put under your tongue and let them dissolve. I tend to take 1 to 2 a day. On my good days, if it's a bad day, I take up to 10. I try to take less than that, but it really, really helps. This brand is just called Anxiety Relief, and it's been really helpful. It's one of my favorite ones. If I didn't take that, I honestly don't know how I would be mentally. Someday I hope that I'll have insurance and enough money to take medication if I really need to, but I've gotten to where I can control my anxiety for the most part, and that medicine has been a huge help with that. But beyond that, it's also been my friends and family members and wonderful co-workers over my last couple of jobs that have helped me get past my anxiety, work through my anxiety, and overcome my anxiety. Those are some of my favorite tiny things. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!